Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TaskHuman Talks. I'm your host and fellow wellness provider, Jamie Carroll. And today I have the amazing Chris Kinney, not very far from me. You're in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Chris is one of our newer coaches. He is a fitness coach, motivational coach, goal setting. Love it. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, these glasses are like giving me a glare. I don't like it. I'm so excited to dive into your story because you were in the 2018 Winter Olympics. We're going to talk about that. You also are very open about your sexuality and your story and what it was like coming out for you. So we're going to dive into that as well. And obviously, we're going to talk about some fitness things too. So I have listened to another podcast that you did and read some articles, and I'm going to dive right in with this. You said that you never fit into any one box. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, so growing up, I'm Japanese, Black, and white. I grew up with the white side of my family. So I look very different from all of my cousins that I grew up with. And yeah, it's going to school. I spoke different from my Black peers, and they would always wonder why I spoke there. Why would you speak so white? And so I would bring Japanese snacks and Japanese food to school and stuff. I was just always a bit of a walking, like a mystery, like where do I fit in? Yeah. And that also played over into like sexuality as well, because then it's both men. I'm interested in both men and women, and it's you got to pick one or the other. And I'm like, I don't fit into this neat little box.
Yeah. So let's hear about your journey towards coming out and admitting and sharing with everybody that you are interested in men and women. When did you discover this about yourself? What was this process and journey like for you?
Yeah, known since I was very young. I want to say around middle school. And it was a lot more difficult, I think, 10, 15 years ago. And I think it's still difficult now for younger kids. But then I don't think we had all of the tools that we have today. And so it was very isolating. I feared that I was seen as like less masculine. So I would always use sport to assert my like masculinity over my peers, essentially, because it's just, even though I like men, I'm not any less of a man. So it was always that.
Do you think this was your drive actually? Because I mean, you're bobsledder, right? That was your sport in the 2018 Winter Olympics. Do you think having this process of discovery, you're like, okay, like men, I like women, and wanting to be more masculine and not have that taken from you, do you think this kind of was part of your drive towards getting to the Olympics?
I think subconsciously in a way, yes. I never really worried about those things, but going into bobsled, which is such a hyper masculine sport.
Okay. I know nothing about bobsled.
Basically, the Cliff Notes version is you have 4 swole dudes that try to fit into a tiny glorified bathtub, and you go down an ice chute at 90 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So was going to the Olympics always part of your aspirations?
Yeah. So I remember when I was a little kid, that dream changed as I got older, but I always said I wanted to be a professional athlete when I was like a very little kid. And then when the Olympics came to Atlanta in 96, that was when I first caught that Olympic fever, and the entire city and was preparing for the games, and everybody was extremely excited about it. Mm-hmm. And it was just getting to see the different events and everything that was going on during the games. I was like, I promised my grandfather, I'm like, I'm going to be in the Olympics one day. That's what I'm going to do.
I love it. Did you grow up in Atlanta?
I did. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. And so did you visit Japan ever?
Yeah, I visited as a kid.
Okay. Did you ever live there?
Yes, I lived there after college, I lived there for about 4.5, almost 5 years. And yeah, I was running track professionally. So track was actually the sport I wanted to go to the games in. And I was an All-American in college, and I graduated, got a sponsorship and got support over with the Japanese company. So I moved over to Japan and started running over there. But then my journey took a turn, and that's how I came to bobsled.
So tell us a little bit about that journey.
I've always identified and been very proud of my Japanese heritage growing up. But when I went, and I had been as a kid and visited many times over the years,
Right.
but living there was very different, and it was actually a very difficult journey. Had I endured really severe bullying and from people around my training group and at work that would send me messages from different email addresses and stuff, or sub or fake addresses or something,
Yeah.
and I'd get hundreds of messages a night telling me
Mhm.
to go back to the US, and I got death threats, and I was attacked for like my sexuality.
So
They were
this was
giving
about like your race and nationality and also your sexuality. You were
Yeah.
bullied in that sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was extremely stressful, but and a lot of my friends ask, "Why don't you just leave and go
Yeah.
home?" And it's no. It's I'm not if I have a goal I want to accomplish, and if I'm going to leave Japan, I'm going to leave on my terms, not because I was bullied out.
Yeah.
The most memorable story was actually, so before one of my bigger competitions, the night before, my tires got slashed. They graffitied on my car, like some like gay pejorative terms in Japanese and stuff. And I almost missed this competition, but one of the older, I guess, uncles, I don't know how we would say it in English, but we say Oji-san, he loaned me his car. I made it to the competition just in time, and I actually won
Wow. Oh my God. So it you had a lot of drive from not fitting into that box. I just love that. So how long were you in Japan for competing?
Yeah, about 4 years.
Okay. And then
Mhm.
it just got so bad you decided to come to the United States to do competition.
Well,
What was that
so
transition?
I would sometimes compete in international meets,
Okay.
and I happened to be back home just visiting and doing a competition, and
Okay.
there happened to be a bobsled combine going on. And
Okay.
I looked at the one of my teammates, she made the transition the Olympics before I did, and I talked to her about it, and I was like, okay, this might be like a cool
Yeah.
little thing to try out. I ended up trying out, and because a lot of the combine stuff is very similar to what I would do sprinting and running, and I ended up doing well enough and got invited to the rookie
Wow.
camp and then started bobsledding.
Oh my gosh. And bobsledding was in the United States that you were doing that.
Yep, so I came
How
back.
was what's that? Sorry.
Yeah, so I came back stateside. Yeah, I
Okay.
moved
So
back.
how was your experience in the United States different than when you were in Japan? Did you experience the same kind of bullying and feeling like an outcast there?
I didn't so much deal with bullying, but I definitely still felt like an outcast. Bobsled's not a very diverse sport, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term. I've never really wanted to like or felt the need to come out. If you know me, like I'm pretty open about who I
Right.
am. I've never felt the need to make any public declarations, but going into bobsled, I felt like I had to completely just hide who I was all over again
Ah.
because of the environment I was in.
Yeah, that was actually going to be a question of mine. So, like when you were in Japan, how did people know what you weren't hiding there, but what was this process of, so you're getting bullied because I don't, what would you call yourself? Are you LGBT? Do you have a
Mhm.
label for yourself? There's so many different sidelines I could go here with this question.
Oh gosh, yeah. Not really. I guess just I would say bisexual.
Yeah.
In Japan, I wasn't necessarily trying to hide, but I wasn't broadcasting it either.
Yeah.
I would have my friends in Tokyo that I could be very open with, and my
Right.
college friends that all lived in Tokyo. But yeah, but coming back, I think in Japan that was more so the the person that was doing all of this. I think that was more so like the demons that they were dealing with and reflecting those or projecting those upon me. Coming back to the States, it was more just the team was really had a very toxic environment. Took some time to really build or to get rid of
Yeah.
that toxicity. But yeah, I just that would have been it. There's a very political aspect there's a political aspect and an athletic aspect. I came in, especially Olympic year, I was one of our top pushers, but just a few of the black bobsledders on the team, we
Mhm.
typically just came together because we related well with each other. And I don't think I'm not saying my teammates were like inherently racist or anything, but I just think
Right.
there were some differences in communication and
Yeah.
just differences in culture. So we just veered off into two groups, and which was really nice to be able to talk about after that games, because some of those teammates, we sat down after the games and we really had I had a heart to heart with a few of those guys, and they were extremely supportive, especially when they found out about me at the games and I came out at the game. Like I made an announcement at the games and they were super supportive.
Wow. What was your decision? Why did you decide to do that at the games?
I think I was going on tour for 4 years and going from stop to stop. I was always tired of having to sneak around and be
Yeah.
secretive. Like if I
Right.
was meeting friends or if I went out like on a date, like while I was on tour and stuff, I would have to sneak away and be
Yeah.
like, quiet about it. But at the games, I didn't. I made the team, so I didn't have to worry about that political aspect of my teammates. Or I think I was more worried about them being comfortable with me. And so I didn't have to worry
Yeah.
about that anymore. And so a few of them were asking one of my female skeleton teammates about me. And then she was telling me, and I went up to those guys and I'm like, hey guys, like, this is the deal.
This is what's
And
going on.
yeah, and it was nice because when we were letting loose and at one of the after parties for the at the games, a friend I made, we were like, everybody's like having a good time drinking and just, yeah, letting loose. And I like kissed one of my friends, and all my teammates saw, and one of them came up to me and was just like, I respect you. You're a hell of a push athlete, but you're still my teammate and I consider you a good friend. So yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. It's just so crazy to me too, as we're having this conversation, that like, we don't just have respect automatically for people, no matter like what race they are, what nationality they are, what their sexual preference is. It's because I'm here going, oh wow, that's so nice. But like, why does it even have to be that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that just be like an automatic thing? I want to talk about your experience in the Olympics as well. So where was the 2018 Olympics? I don't even.
In Pyeongchang, Korea.
Okay. So what was that experience like for you? What was training like leading up to going to the Olympics? Let's start there.
Quite honestly, oh man, that year was super stressful because we were trying to qualify 3 sleds.
Oh
So
man.
there was a lot of strategy going into
Yeah.
that. So we had to split up and try to get the most points possible to qualify all 3 of our men's teams.
Wow.
And training was intense. I remember at the beginning of that season, I had a little journal and I was like, okay, this is who I want to beat. I want to hit this time and this time.
Wow.
And so every single thing I didn't go out. I did going out with friends, any extracurriculars. I was like, I have time. I can do this anytime. I can do this
Yeah.
later. Right now, I got to focus. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote down those goals. And so every single practice I went to, every warm up, every movement that I did with like purpose, I was very purposeful with my warm ups, my cool downs, just
Yeah.
everything. And that, I think doing an entire season of that, it really tires you out. But
Yeah. I can't imagine like how many hours a day were you in the gym?
oh, man, usually I think a regular day would be at least 5 hours.
Wow, that's
At least.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. On top of working or like in school or
Mhm.
anything else that you were doing.
Yep.
Wow.
So I was in school and
Oh man. So how did you deal, like when you're at the Olympics, how do you deal with all of that pressure? Were you nervous? Was there?
the Olympics, I think a lot of people think that you're going to be extremely nervous, but the thing is you perform how you practice. And
Right.
at the Olympics, I was at that stage. I was super excited. I think I was excited more than anything, but I wasn't nervous at all, only because I had been competing the past 4 years. So I knew my routine, I knew my warm up. The only difference was because I had been to multiple world championships, and those world championships are filmed and on TV. But the only difference between the Olympics and the world championships is it's like the largest stage in the world, and you have a lot more people watching.
Yep. Yep.
But when you're when you're on the start line or you're on the block, yeah, you just go tunnel vision. Like there's tons of people like to your left and right yelling and cheering. I
focus on
couldn't
that.
hear anything. Yeah, I can't hear anything. I'm just
It's
like here.
it's making me think that you're probably just so zoned in and living in the moment. And that's how you practiced. It sounds like you were like focused, zoned in, living in the moment. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go out with friends. I'm not going to do anything else. It's just going to be a distraction. And I don't know. I just think that can really carry over to so much of just like life application, being present in this moment. What are we doing right now? Like having focus, having energy in each piece that we are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
I
absolutely
think
love
that's why
that.
we stress. Yeah, that's why I think a lot of people get stressed and overwhelmed is because
Yes.
you're worrying about the future. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I don't do this? And or you're like, okay, I messed up on this, I messed up on that. And if you're in the moment, like
That's all
you're,
there is.
oh, that's all there is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we know this and we can talk about this all day long, but like putting this into practice, it's
Yeah.
actually great to be able to do that at the gym. You know what I mean? With your workout, coach, setting goals, doing things like that because you're lasered in and you're just
Yeah.
focused on what do I need to do right now?
It's like your for me, it's like my meditation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So what was your life like after the 2018 Olympics? Like, where are you at now? Are you still competing?
Yeah, I decided to retire from competing, but I'm still working in international sports. So I was working with the Paralympic Committee, and I was in Tokyo and Beijing, working with all of the athletes there. And I've done like I've done a few projects. Did a TV show,
Nice.
which was fun, or a game show, which was really fun. But yeah, I'm staying in the world of sport because I really want to give back. And I've been doing advocacy work as well, especially as it relates to representation in sport and equal rights and stuff. So actually ahead of the Tokyo Olympics, I addressed the Japanese government, and just talked about my experience in Japan and how protections against bullying need to also be extended to LGBT citizens of the country. And I've been really focused on just, this advocacy and then trying to give back to the world of sport.
I love that. Yeah, I was going to ask that. And have you had support from your family throughout your entire journey? Like even in coming out and being a bisexual man, have they supported you throughout this as well?
Yeah, no, everybody's been extremely supportive. Yeah, it's been quite overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. And I just love that you're sharing your story because I think it just helps so many other people out there who might be struggling and feeling like they don't fit into a specific box. There's so many labels out there in the world. It can be like really overwhelming. I'm in recovery and I'm really big about smashing the addiction stigma, all these stigmas, all these labels that we give ourselves. It's like, why do these even exist in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you go about breaking that barrier, like breaking those labels of, are you a gay man or are you a straight? Are you white? Are you black? What? And especially for you, because you're encompassing all of these.
Yeah. I own it all. I grew up having to always kind of code switch and magnify one part of my personality over the other. But while you're not being fake, like you're still acting out parts of yourself. You're not able to be and express your entire self, the entirety of who you are. And so I let people label me how they will, but whether or not I accept those labels for myself, it's up to me. And so if somebody's, or are you gay? And a lot of times I'm like, sometimes I'll just say, okay, yes, just because I don't feel like having to get into
a big conversation about it. Yeah.
So if this makes it easier, then sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I make it a point to express all of who I am. So if I'm in the States, I'm still really repping like my Japanese heritage.
Yeah.
A lot. If I'm with my teammates and stuff, it's taken me a while to get more comfortable, but I'm able to express, okay, yes, I like men as well, so I can make jokes with them.
Yeah.
Which took me a while to be comfortable doing.
How do you bring some of your Japanese heritage into your lifestyle here right now?
Yeah, I'm still, like I was in elementary school, I'm still carrying around Japanese snacks or eating a lot of Japanese food, but when I talk to myself, I actually talk to myself in Japanese.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm in a coaching program and we're talking about what is it like when you're talking to yourself? Are you hearing your voice or is it another person's voice? So that's interesting that you say that it's in Japanese.
Yeah.
I love that. What's a good Japanese snack that you have that is there one that we can get here in the States that's good?
I think one that Americans typically like the rice crackers. We call it osenbe. And so it's like little rice crackers and peanuts and stuff. And I think they sell them in like American stores a lot of times,
Right.
or like with the wasabi peas and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I love this. So how has your experience through all of this shaped what you do today?
Yeah, it's hard. I would hope that I could be a person that maybe a younger person going through the same things that I
Yeah.
went through could reach out to and talk to. So usually on my social media, I'm pretty good about trying to get back to most of the people who, or almost everyone who talks to me. I think just going through that and having to censor myself constantly and having to code switch and really not be
Mhm.
comfortable with all of who I am really has shaped, okay, this is why I want to have this representation in sport. This is why I think this activism, this LGBT representation in sport is important.
Mhm.
And even with other causes, there's been violent crimes against Asians and other stuff that's been going on. African Americans have been feeling in the US for a while. Tried to give a voice to all of these things in any way I can and support those around me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And there's just so many opportunities in the world today. I feel like to feel like an outcast or to feel like you don't belong, or we're like putting different masks on in different groups and all of that. So, like, the more people speak out about their experiences, I think just the
Yeah.
better it is for we can all be open about it.
And you would think like with social media, that would be the opposite effect. But I
I
think
know.
social media, it magnifies, I think it helps you reach out to people that are similar to you, but it also magnifies everything else because you can't get away from it. You're always tethered to your phone or the
Oh my
internet.
gosh. And like all these things are being like
Yeah.
put out to you. And it's, oh, wait, should I be doing that? It's almost like people are comparing themselves more so than ever
Yeah. Yeah.
from social media, which
Mhm.
would make you feel like even more of an outcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy. So, what are some things that you're doing on the TaskHuman app? So, how are you helping your client
Mhm.
on the app?
Yeah. So I've been helping out clients with just motivation and goal setting, how to set up goals and how to accomplish them. Because I think oftentimes, like we all have these goals, but we don't have a roadmap of how to achieve those goals or to get there. And then if we take a detour, it's like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So I've been using my experience with just making an Olympic team and doing the things that I'm doing now, like getting to the place where I am now, and some of the techniques I've used throughout the years to help others reach their goals.
What's a tip you can give us now, like a goal setting tip?
Mhm.
That's just something quick.
Something quick.
You
Yeah.
or easy, quote unquote.
Yeah. So I like to always start with, if you have a goal, the universe conspires to work with you. And so what I say is to the clients I work with is consistency is key. I tell them consistency is key, but I also tell them to not look at the finish line. You need to look at what's in front of you. I use my example of, or my time running the 110-meter hurdles as an example. So we have 10 hurdles before the finish line. If I'm looking at the 10th hurdle at the finish line, I'm going to trip up on the hurdles in front of me. So to really just focus on those things in front of you.
Honing in on that present moment again.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I've been like, this has been on my mind a lot recently, the past couple days. So I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it. Okay, awesome. So what you're working with clients in fitness as well, right?
Mhm.
Helping them achieve their fitness goals and all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Doing strength training, overall fitness. And if I've been also offering like sprint and power stuff, but I have yet to work with any aspiring runners. So if there's any
Hey,
runners,
aspiring runners out there, give Chris a call. He's ready to help you. Oh, I love this. Yeah. Is there anything that you would say to someone right now who's out there that is feeling like an outcast, that is feeling like they don't fit in anywhere? What is something that you would say to them?
I would say don't work for the approval of others. You need to first approve of yourself and love yourself, and then you will attract others who will love you for you.
Yeah. Love yourself first, and then you'll
Mhm.
vibe that out.
Yeah.
You seem like such a strong person. I mean, I know we've only talked a couple times, but like really self-aware, like knowing the stuff about yourself since you were young. I want to be in the Olympics. You knew that you were attracted to men at a young age. Was it a struggle for you to come to this place of loving yourself and like internally? The external, I feel like we're always going to hit on these struggles in life. Everybody's going to have these whatever struggles,
Yeah,
but
I'm 33 and it's taken me 33 years.
It's a constant
it's a work in
journey.
progress every day. Yeah, it's a work in progress
Yeah.
every day.
Yes.
And I really try to surround myself with people that I not only that I can support, but that support me in doing what I'm and helping me or supporting me as I go for my goals as well. Yeah, it really takes a lot of self-love and a lot of constant nurturing to stay in a good place
Yeah.
with both mentally and emotionally.
Absolutely. What are some ways that you walk your talk, that you take care of yourself, and what are some of your self-care practices?
A lot of what I do is I really get energy from talking to other people. And I think social media has been an amazing outlet for that and really connecting with people who have talked to me about my story and how it connected with them. And so I really like to keep in touch with them. And I just build these relationships with these people. So that's extremely cathartic. But at the same time, I go into periods where I'm maxed out.
Yeah.
I'm tired from trying to, with all of these things on my list that I need to do and getting overwhelmed. So those are the times that I try and step away from social media. I typically like to go out into nature. I go out to either the mountains or I go out to Utah quite often, and I'll go out in the desert or up in the mountains for a few days and
I would love that. Yeah.
just be really present and in the moment and enjoy nature.
Yes, that's on my tap for this weekend. Tiny home, kayaks, lake, nature.
Yeah. Nature therapy is the best.
Exactly. So what's the next big thing for you? What's the next big goal that you've got in mind for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm working on taking more of a role within the Olympic Paralympic movement, hopefully for the US. And then I'm going to be trying to work on doing stuff with properties and overseas.
Nice.
So I really want to, actually, my long-term dream is to have a bed and breakfast that focuses on wellness, travel, and
I love that.
yeah. So
I
just
really feel like you're going to
people.
achieve anything that you want to. So we're going to be on the lookout for this. Where is this B&B going to Airbnb? Is it an Airbnb or just
No, just a regular bed and breakfast. So I want to
Right.
be there to manage. I want to be like helping. I want to be cooking. I want to be interacting with the guest, and then
Yes.
the fitness and the fitness area and stuff like that. I've been looking at different locations, but this is going to be like my long term, maybe like 10 years down the line, because it's going to take a while to build up all of that.
I
Yeah.
love it. That's great. That's fantastic. Wow. So make sure you follow Chris so you can see when this bed and breakfast is open up. I love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share with everybody before we wrap this up?
Not that I can think of. Just if you want to come, if you want to work with me on goal setting and
Call Chris.
your fitness, please give me a call.
Use the app to book a session with Chris. He does fitness coaching. Obviously, he's great at motivation as well and goal setting. So make sure you call him, and he's available on the TaskHuman app. So you can find him, Chris Kinney. And thank you so much for being so open, authentic, vulnerable, and sharing your story. I so appreciate it. These are the conversations we like to have around at TaskHuman. So thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody for listening. That's it for today. I will see you on the next session.